Hi, and good evening. Welcome to the Unicity Weekly Training again. The topic today is about the virus that has been bothering us for over 2 years. Seriously, is the pandemic gone? As restrictions loosen, it is natural to think that the struggle is over. We lower our guards and our risk of exposure increases. This is precisely the time to be vigilant. The battle is not over yet. What can we do to make our body strong against recurring infections? Let's hear from Claudia to find out more.
All right, okay. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here and to see all of you again. It has been some time and I've missed all of you. So, okay, just give me a moment as I share my screen. So today we will be revisiting a topic that everyone has mixed feelings about. Okay, at one point we feel like, okay, we need to do our due diligence to be very cautious and considerate of what is happening. And I'm sure, there's a huge part of us that feels really frustrated and very fed up over this pandemic, right? And as like what CK said, it has been a 2-year battle, never ending. So we are very ready to move on and to put this behind us. Many people are already starting to plan their next travel itinerary. So it's understandable, all right? So we are now going through a very interesting transition. Okay, the whole world is entering a new transition, and of course, we want to be able to do it well. So in order to be abreast in the whole situation, it's important to know two things. The first thing is, what is the reality of the situation? Okay, exactly what is the true current state of the pandemic? And secondly, we also need to have the right attitude and taking the proper precautionary step so that we can establish long-term protection for us and for the people around us. Okay, so it's going to be an informative topic today, so be sure to tune in to the end. So this is a quick disclaimer before we start. Okay, so I'm sure we are no stranger to this word. Okay, the term endemic has been used very commonly. But just so you know, this is not a trendy word or it's a word that's made up because of the pandemic. In actual fact, this is a true medical term, and there is a medical definition for this word. So it means, endemic means that the disease or infection has reached a steady state, and it doesn't cause large outbreaks, but it still circulates, causing individual cases. Okay, so this is what this term really means. It means it's not really infectious as per definition. But if we were to look at this in the honest view, okay, if we could be honest with ourselves, is it true that we have arrived here yet? Well, the short answer is no. Okay, at this given time, I'm sure we don't really want to bother about this, but it's still very much a pandemic. There are some parts of the world in this current moment are still experiencing massive outbreaks, and they're trying very best to contain it. Yeah, like Hong Kong and other parts of the world. The nature of this virus is still very unpredictable. And many people move on to the next phase thinking that as if the virus is no longer present. Like there's no more transmission and you're free to go and to do whatever you like. So this is definitely not the truth. Okay, in actual fact, the virus is still very much amongst us. So let's look at what other countries are faring in this area. So as we look at our neighbor country, Singapore, we can see that there's a spike, okay, that there's an exponential spike in cases, especially in the month of Feb to March, okay? And the same can be observed in Malaysia, where we have displayed very similar trends with March being at the peak and followed by Indonesia. So some of you may be thinking that, seems to be a decline here, so I don't have to be so scared. According to WHO, that does not seem to be the case because there are more than 10 million cases reported worldwide, and many of them are unreported due to self-care kits, right? And there are some countries you may not need to declare it, unlike PCR where it's mandatory. So what we are seeing here today is not an accurate representation of reality. So what can we do to make sure that we can enter into the endemic phase as soon as possible? There are 3 key factors. Number 1 is how long we can stay immune to it. Number 2, how quickly the virus evolves. And number 3, how well we can effectively treat it. So you'll visit the first point first. So before I go into it further, let's look at the differences between bacteria and virus. So bacteria, as you can see, they do have some components that are similar to a human living cell, where they have a nucleus, okay, and they still have other parts like cytoplasm to sustain itself. But virus, on the other hand, it looks like a completely foreign entity. It looks completely different. And what is inside, there's nothing really living about it, except the fact that it's filled with genetic codes and it's protected with a layer of protein spikes. So the mechanism of action is very different as well. Bacteria attack a body cell externally, while virus can enter into a healthy cell and reprogram those cells to make new viruses. Okay, talking about being invasive. Okay, it's extremely invasive, pervasive, and it can literally hijack your entire immune system. So let's take a look at this video to show us exactly how it happens in the body.
Every cell in your body is a tiny factory, constantly making proteins. Your genetic code, or DNA, directs every activity. Protein-making machinery in the cell reads the cell's own DNA and makes sure the cell proteins go where they're needed. Viruses have their own genetic code, but they don't have the machinery to copy their DNA. So viruses need your cell's machinery to reproduce themselves. A virus starts this process by using the keys on its surface to gain entry. Like a Trojan horse, it enters the cell. The virus releases its own DNA into the unsuspecting cell and hijacks the protein-making machinery. Now, this vital cell function becomes an assembly line for new virus particles. No longer in service to your body, the cell now serves the virus, manufacturing thousands of new virus particles, which are released to enslave more cells. Thousands and thousands more.
So this is exactly how virus works. It's incredibly pervasive. So this is the reason why, as the whole world is struggling so hard to find a solution to end this problem, because they can just enter into a human cell so easily. So as of now, the more viable solution is vaccination. Right, where they introduce an inactivated virus to trigger immune response, okay, to target the virus. So as much as it is true that it does offer protection, okay, and it is a viable solution, however, antibody that's produced by vaccines, they don't last forever. There is a lifespan to it. Okay, antibody will drop as much as 50% after 3 months of the first jab. Okay, and if this persists continually, in the next 6 months, as much as 95% of your antibodies will decline. That means you may only have 5% less of this antibody in your body. So what does this tell us? This tells us that it is clear that vaccines will need to be given more than just once. I'm sure most of us here have already 3 jabs. Okay, it's not going to be surprising if we have to take another one and another one and another one just to combat the reoccurring nature of this virus. Okay, it's likely that boosters and annual vaccines or other therapies will be needed throughout our lifetime. So we don't know, okay, how many times you will have to take it. And of course, there will be another question, whether you want to take it or not. Are we going to have complications because we get the virus or because of overdose of vaccines? This is going to be a big question mark, which I don't even have an answer to. Okay, so virus is very intelligent in nature. It has outsmart the human immune system. Look at how many strains we have in just the span of 2 years. Okay, it has evolved so rapidly. And on top of that, every single strain has a mutation. So there's 23 mutation in the first strain. And right after, the next 3 has 12 to 13. And Omicron has a total of 32 mutations that exist in that virus itself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call record breaking. Okay? And many of us now would think that, okay, this may be the last strain. But unfortunately, this is not what I'm going to tell you tonight. There is already a new variant in this very moment, a merger of Omicron and Delta variant. So a marriage between Omicron, which is a highly transmissible variant, and Delta, which possess life-threatening symptoms. So the marriage of both virus, it is pretty scary. And it has a potential to be the next super virus. So how rampant is it going to be? And now travel borders has already opened. So we don't know. We really do not know what's going to happen. Yeah. So treatments, the third point, okay, there are vaccines and drugs. So vaccines we have talked about at length. There are limitations to it. Number one, vaccines will only give us protection on past strains, whatever that we have studied in the past. But it does not give us guaranteed protection on versions yet to come. Okay, there are 32 mutations, And how can vaccines be able to catch up with the mutation rate? It's impossible. All right, to run that rat race is very hard to catch up with it. So because of this, many people are also trying non-invasive options such as drugs. Okay, but unfortunately, the clinical research of drugs is very much behind time. And there are only a few. So this is a very popular one, which is ivermectin. I'm sure you've heard about it. And it's a big debate. So some people say it really works, but there's still a big group of people who said that there's insufficient studies and it's not safe. Why? Because it is used to treat parasites in animals and in humans. And it's not a drug that's used to treat viruses. So because of this reason, FDA has not approved the use of this drug, and taking large doses of this drug can cause serious harm. All right, I personally know of people who eat this like supplement. Every day they just take, okay, because they believe that this can protect them. But they really don't know, okay, what are the side effects? What will it cause your liver? Is it going to cause any damage to your organs? Is still a huge unknown. So please do not use medications intended for animals on yourself. Okay, we know WhatsApp, tells us all bunch of things, but please, practice some discernment. And okay, and next there are some more legit medication, okay, that's been released as of late. There's 2 types, but it's only utilized during emergency situation. Okay, so it's only being administered for those who are going to transition to severe states like hospitalization or death. And more studies is still needed to verify. Okay, because it's observed that using this medication can cause harm to the liver. Okay, they find that there are increased ALT levels and inflammatory levels that are not good. So this is the reason why, as of late, there is still no drug that is safely can be recommended to the general public. So what is the status? Frankly, it's a huge question mark. As much as we are more than ready to move on and to put this behind us, but it looks like it's not stopping or it's not ending anytime soon. And the more disturbing question is this: are we prepared for the next one? And frankly, this is a question that many people are not ready to face yet. So what should we do moving forward? This is an important question. So, okay, with all these things said and done, as much as vaccine is a viable solution, but both of these drugs and vaccination are not long-term solutions, okay? And still, it will always come back to your existing immune system. Okay, this is still going to be your fortress. It's still going to be the main foundation that is going to be protecting you against all kinds of viruses, bacteria, and parasites. However, before we continue, I would like to stress the point that supplements is not treatment, prevention, or cure for any disease. Okay, we are not advocating that you take supplements, then you don't have to do vaccination. Okay, please, no. And it's not curing anything. However, it does play a part to contribute a strong immune system. So I just want to show you an illustration how the immune system works. So it is a very elaborate system, and it does not depend on a singular entity. Because many people think that, okay, for immune system, you just take vitamin C, okay, or just this one thing, then it will cover the whole immune system. But in reality, it's not so simple. Okay, first of all, of course, every living cell needs nutrients. They need fuel. It could be our cells, it could be white blood cell, red blood cell. So all these nutrients will fuel, and today the topic of interest is immune cell. So it will fuel the white blood cell. So on top of that, once our white blood cell is healthy, you can release what we call antibody. So later we will learn in detail about how it works in the body, but generally it helps to hunt down the enemy and to eliminate them. So all this function does not happen floating around the body like that, It has to happen in a proper context. So where does it happen primarily? The main immune site is the gut. And just to let you know, it's a good 70%. So a lot of this is happening in our gut. So first, I'm going to touch on vitamin C. Okay, so it's Unicity BioC, which have 300 milligrams of vitamin C. So I'm sure some of you may feel that, why does it only have 300 milligrams? A little bit on the lower side. However, our Unicity BioC is not your usual generic vitamin C. Okay, it's so much more than that, and it can deliver results a lot more effectively. How? So many people have this concept, okay, the more the better. The more RAM a phone is better, the more gig means it's more value for money, right? But this may not necessarily be true, especially when it comes to our health. It's not applied to everything. Because our body is such a unique mechanism, and it responds to different nutrients differently. So different nutrients have a different amount of dosage that our body can absorb at a given time. So vitamin C has a specific limit, vitamin E have a specific limit, and so on and so forth. So we have to consider all these things to optimize absorption. Because if not, if we were to introduce too much at one time, it will overwhelm our system. Okay, our body will not know how to respond because there's just too many of vitamin C around. Okay, so too much is not necessarily a good thing because it can hinder absorption as much as 50%. And the generic may be offering 500 milligrams to 1,000, but it's not an advantage if it's not completely absorbed and effectively utilized. And it may not even produce the effect that you want. So, BioC, we have designed it specifically with this factor in mind, with the ideal dosage. So we can be able to get at least 90 to 95% absorption rate. Next, on top of that, we use 4 different forms of vitamin C in our formulation. So there's ascorbyl palmitate, magnesium ascorbate, calcium ascorbate, and ascorbic acid. We'll go through this briefly. Okay? So why do we need 4 different forms? Well, because our body can only absorb different form at different times. So the main reason of putting this is to ensure absorption and to also give a time release mechanism. So slowly it can be released throughout the day, so it will not deprive us of the nutrients we need throughout the day. So this improves bioavailability. And most generic only uses 2 types, which is ascorbic acid and sodium ascorbate. So both of these are fairly easy to produce and are quite affordable. So it's not surprising that we see generic forms with this is sold in drugstores. Okay, however, they can be quite harsh to the stomach and they may cause gastric. On top of that, they do not have the stability nor efficacy compared to BioC, which uses 4 types of vitamin C. So even with just 300 milligrams, it can be fully utilized compared to a generic that has 500 milligrams that is only absorbed to maybe 60%. So, well, that's not the end yet. We have other extra benefits. It's still the type of vitamin C that we use, which are mineral forms, such as calcium ascorbate and magnesium ascorbate. And both of these are more stable forms of vitamin C. And they give us a longer shelf life, they're more resistant to oxidation, they last longer, not just only in the bottle, but in the body as well. Okay, it does not get oxidized easily. And also we added extra citrus bioflavonoids, and this jives together and works synergistically with the other vitamin C that we have. And it produces a formulation that's superior in absorption, effectiveness, and stability. So with this, we can guarantee you that you're consuming high quality ingredients that will produce you the results that you've been looking for. All right, so after touching on the nutrients, let's get into the antibody part. All right, I'm sure that it's still a topic that's poorly understood. So with this illustration, I hope we can help you understand better.
Antibodies. A vital weapon of the immune system, antibodies are designed to fit and attach to specific invading molecules. Without them, diphtheria toxin attacks nerve cells, heart cells, and kidney cells. Once attacked by these deadly molecules, the cell stops functioning and is doomed to die. By attaching to the cell's receptors, the toxin burns through cell after cell, attacking nerves that control breathing, heart rate, or kidney function. When antibodies arrive, everything changes. Instead of attaching to the cell's receptors, the toxin now binds with surrounding antibodies, blocking it from attaching to cells.
Okay, so with this video, you can see how important antibody is. It saves the cell, it immediately hunts for the toxin, okay, and also it prevents it from binding to receptor sites and to go into our healthy cells. So this is the important aspect of antibody. So what is the difference? Okay, just to let you know, vitamin C and antibodies are totally different things. So vitamin C is the nutrient that fuels our immune cells. Okay, it's like petrol. So when our white blood cells are well nourished, it is able to produce antibodies. Okay, so yes, white blood cell does produce it. So what is antibody? Antibody is this blue objects that you see floating around, and it is trying to stop this virus or parasites from multiplying. So it's like bullets that's produced by white blood cells that serves to search, hunt, and destroy the enemy. It could be virus, bacteria, or parasites. Okay, so antibody, the more you have, the better. The stronger your body it is to respond to threats and to seize it immediately. So it's not very easy to get antibody from food. Yeah. So the only source that can provide good source of antibody is through colostrum. So colostrum is just not any kind of milk that you get your usual dairy source, but it is in fact the first form of milk produced immediately after delivery of a newborn. Okay, it must be immediately after. Why? Because colostrum has an especially high amount of bioactive compounds compared to mature milk. Because infants, they do not have the immune response established yet. So they are highly dependent on the colostrum that's produced by the parent. So the purpose of colostrum is to jumpstart a newborn's immune system, gut function, and a healthy gut microbiome in the first few days of life. So on top of that, you can see the importance of gut health that our body would start to establish once the baby is born. Okay? So Unicity, how are we different? Is that we extract the freshest milk as soon as 6 hours, right, when it's released from the bovine source. And we quickly extract it so that we can preserve its activity, giving us the most effective form. So our immunizant is rich in IgG. So IgG is the primary source of antibody in us. It's the most abundant one, good, up to 80%. So it is the main antibody that serves to protect us and to control infections of body tissues. Okay, on top of that, of IgG, there are also components that's very unique to colostrum, such as lactoferrin. So lactoferrin plays a very important role in immunity. It helps to also regulate iron absorption because that helps in immune function. And it also reduces the risk of respiratory tract infections. That's very relevant today. So antibody, granted with vitamin C, our body can still produce, okay, our white blood cell can still produce antibodies. However, if we were to arm it and to boost it together with colostrum, it can further increase the antibody to levels that can give us a really strong and thorough protection. So last but not least, I want to approach this topic on probiotics. Because most people feel like it doesn't really have a relationship. What is happening right now has a lot more to do, with the lungs than the gut. So I'm going to explain to you why it's not the case. As you can see here, this is the cross-sectional diagram of a gut. So this is the villi that surrounds the gut. So underneath our villi, it's all these cells. So these are all the different type of white blood cells that we have. Okay, we have macrophage, we have B lymphocytes, and so on. So a cluster of them reside underneath our gut. So this is the reason why immune system, 70% of it is in our gut. Okay, it's always there. So this is where good bacteria plays a very important role. So whenever there's a lot of immune cells, there is also a possibility that there will be a lot of viruses as well. Okay, like it says, it can be a reservoir for viruses. In fact, whenever there's an infection or whatever that goes on in the body, 50% of pathogens is found in the stool. And only 10% is in the blood. So most of it is still in the gut once it's being eliminated also. So whenever there's long-term distorted gut health, it is linked to severity of disease and high inflammatory reaction. So it doesn't really matter what kind of disease. It can be metabolic related, okay, like diabetes, or even to infectious disease. So both of these cases have a very direct association to poor gut health. Okay, if you have poor gut health, you are most likely going to have even more worse outcome. So this is where good bacteria plays a very important role. And it contributes to the entire immune system in the body. Okay, not just here, but because it all relates to one another. Okay? And our gut also communicates to our lungs as well. And the specific strains that contribute to overall immune health is lactobacilli and bifidobacteria. Okay, so both of these species have been very extensively studied, and it has a very good protective function to our body. And in this case, against influenza virus also. So on top of the brain-gut axis that we have talked about before, apparently now there is a gut-lung axis as well. All right. So we have high quality good bacteria. So there's Probionic and Probionic Plus. So how do we preserve the integrity and to ensure that high quality good live cultured bacteria can be successfully entered into our system? So we have patented and encapsulated technology, okay, that we encapsulate every single live bacteria. Once you put it there, this is to ensure that 100% of live bacteria can successfully enter into the place that it should be, okay, which is the large intestine. So this is extremely important. And we have also upgraded and bring this technology further with an acid-resistant capacity. This is very, very important, okay, because even though you can have the encapsulated technology, but if it gets burned in our acid condition in the stomach, then it's not going to work as well. So we have also doubly coated with acid-resistant technology to ensure that it can withstand low pH level and extremely acidic conditions. So both of these are high quality, okay, and of course Probionic is the pioneer. It has 4 bacterial strains that can help to protect us. So Probionic Plus is an upgrade of Probionic, which has 11 bacterial strains. So again, regardless, okay, whatever country you have this, both of these serve as an excellent source to boost your gut and your immune function. So this is what makes Unicity different. Okay, we're different from others because of the extensive coverage that we have in the area of immune health. We are not just dispensing to you, okay, just take one and that's it, finish. Okay, in reality, it's so much more complex than that. So for those who have been with me for a while, you know that we have so much more than just 3 in terms of immune health. Okay, but based due to the time constraint and not to overload, we have selected these 3 main ones. So in terms of nutrient, we covered vitamin C today. Okay, and on top of that, we have learned the importance of antibody, and having that would really increase our defense system significantly, and to also boost the gut immune site because a good 70% occurs there. So it's very comprehensive, and with just these 3, you'll be able to experience complete immune support to really protect you, especially this time when you're traveling and you're going out and about. Exposure to new strains is it's highly likely. So this is going to give you the foundation that you need. So this is the end of my presentation. I hope you have learned a thing or two. So please feel free to ask me any questions. Yeah, so now is the time for Q&A. And yep. So we're opening time for the floor. You can type your questions. Hi, Sun An. Thanks for being the first person, okay, to ask a question. All right. So what is the difference between IgG and colostrum and LC base? Actually, it's the same. Okay, it is the same type of IgG. But it will be more concentrated in the colostrum form as compared to LC base. Okay, anyway, we don't have LC base anymore. So if you want to get your main source, go with colostrum or immunizant. Yeah. Okay, the chat is surprisingly quiet today. So it seems that everybody is very well acquired with the knowledge. Okay, so what I've talked about today is actually just 3 basic ones. Of course, if we can think more, it's better. We're going to split it to 2 series. So this is more on the offensive side of immune health. So next week, we'll go into the healing part of immune health. So that part will be covered by Winda, okay, and she will talk, and the products will be very different. Of course, in this, if you can arm yourself with more, with chlorophyll, it'll be good also, chlorophyll, because they have vitamin B, iron, copper, and all these are other sub-nutrients that can work very well with vitamin C also. Okay, yes, we are indeed very blessed, and immune supplements itself, we have 5 to 6. So we are very well covered, all right, and we have full confidence. Okay, so thank you, everybody. So is the colostrum from free-range grass-fed cow? I don't think so. Yeah, we have not reached that level yet. So of course, this is something that we can consider to go towards the to produce even higher grade colostrum. Yeah. So thanks for that. Okay, so if there's no more questions, then I suppose we could end it, right? We can end today's session. Of course, if you can't think of anything, please feel free to send me an email. Okay, I'll always be more than happy to respond and to help you on that. So thank you everybody for joining. I'm so glad to see you and hope to see you soon. So be sure to tune in next 2 weeks. Okay, Winda session. Okay, don't miss out. Right, see you. Thank you very much. Bye. Good night.